What's up YouTube, it's your boy Monty bringing you our first ever poker vlog. In this video we'll be breaking a couple hands that we played out at Outlaws Card Parlor. It's located here in California in the Atascadero area. Not that I expect anybody that's not local to know where that is. It's a pretty small area in between like LA and SF. That's San Francisco for the non-Californians. And I think everybody knows that Los Angeles is called LA. Who knows? Anyway, before we jump into it, I want to thank every single person that's already subscribed to the channel before we launched. And to any new viewers, welcome. I hope you enjoy. Please make sure to watch till the end if you guys want the bankroll update. The goal we have for ourselves is the race to the $5 blind level. I'm currently playing 1-3 and 2-3 no limit hold'em, but we want to up the stakes and get to the $5 blind level as quickly as possible while increasing the bankroll so we can obviously support ourselves at that blind level. All right, that's it for the intro. Let's go.
What's up, everybody? So we're jumping into this pot with a little ratatouille action. We got the good old King 6 and it's suited. Full disclosure, I normally don't like to come into pots with a hand like this, you know, just a suited face card with a marginal kicker. I will absolutely play Ace X suited on the button, but anytime we come into a pot with weaker hands like this, I'm basically looking to hit 2-pair or better. Overall, I feel like these hands just kind of get me into trouble most of the time, but let's go ahead and see a flop and see what happens. And we absolutely smash it. We hit top pair with the flush draw. Could not have asked for a better flop besides just flopping the flush. So it looks like small blind checks, big blind fires out for 15, under the gun +1, gets out of the way, and then I call. The turn brings a 9 of diamonds. Our opponent looked like he wanted to bet, but ends up checking it over to us. Now at this point, I'm not really sure what he has. I'm thinking he might actually have a king here, which could get a little bit sticky because our kicker is so bad. But it also seems like if he does have the king, he might not have a good kicker himself. Otherwise, I don't see why he would check it over to us with the draw on the board. It's also possible he could have just been betting second pair on the flop and then decided to give up once I called. But either way, I'm going to try to keep this pot small. And if we hit our flush on the river, we're just going to go for a really thin value. But then the king of diamonds peels off on the river, and this definitely makes it much less likely that our opponent is holding a king. He would have to have the case king in his hand. So at this point, I think my hand is probably good. I decided to go for thin value anyway and just bet 20 into 40. Our opponent smooth calls. I show him trips, and he flips over pocket fives. Wow, what a blunder. I'm not sure why we didn't get rates there on the river, but you know what? We lost the minimum in this hand, so I'm not going to cry about it. So let's jump into the next one. All right, so we were in for about 2. Looks like we're down to about 135 on our first bullet when we pick up king, queen off on the cutoff. The action folds over to us, so we go ahead and make it 12 here. The button gets out of the way. Small blind puts in the call. Big blind folds, and under the gun calls as well. We are 3 ways to the flop, which comes out 5 king 10 with 2 clubs. We flop top pair, small blind checks, under the gun checks, and we go ahead and fire out for 12 again here. I'm just trying to build this pot up a little bit. My other goal was to induce a raise for anybody that might potentially have our hand beat at the moment, but given the pre-flop action, I don't think that's very likely. The turn brings us a 5 of diamonds. Our opponent quickly checks and then takes a peek at his cards. At this point, I have 2 options. I can probably just jam here and take the pot down. I'd be betting 100 and something into 60, so I don't think he's going to call with this draw, but we're also not going to make too much money off of that play either. We just sat down and we're still on our first bullet, so ideally I'd like to go for value here. I decided to bet 40 into 60, which makes the pot about 100. Our opponent would then only have to put in 40 to win 100, which I think is a good price for his flush draw. So I go ahead and slide the chips into the middle. Our opponent quickly reaches for a stack and throws the 40 in. The dealer does not hesitate for a moment in crushing our soul and goes ahead and throws the club out there on the river. To make matters worse, the second this card hits the felt, I see my opponent glance at his stack and start reaching for chips. I think at this point, it's pretty obvious that he was on the flush draw and he hit it. He's trying to figure out how much he can milk out of me here, so I think he's going to try to keep it on the smaller size. He bets $50 into a pot of almost 200. I only have 70 behind. I'm staring at my hand. I know it's no good. I'm just upset that I went for value instead of taking it down on the turn here. But then the little voice inside my head starts telling me that our opponent is bluffed at a couple pots tonight, but there's no way we're good, right? Absolutely no way we're good here. In fact, even our neighbor knows. Listen to this. Listen to this.
Come on, throw it.
Even our neighbor wants us to muck our hands. So we're just going to go ahead and make a discipline fold here. And oh, no. Yeah, we figured. But for some reason, we just couldn't let it go. I saw him bluff at a couple hands earlier today, and I just convinced myself that he was doing it again. It was pretty easy to fold that hand in that spot there, but it is what it is. We'll probably just need to reload a little bit here for another 200 or 300-ish and see where the night takes us. So it looks like we reloaded for 3 and we pick up 4 cards here, or struggle to pick up 4 cards here rather. So at this venue, they do PLO Bomb Pots. At every dealer change, they cap it at $90. It's $10 pre-flop, and then yeah, cap it at the pot on the flop. They don't do traditional pot limit Omaha. They just try to keep it small. Anyhow, I don't really know how to play PLO. I have since sworn off these bomb pots because I tend to just lose a lot of money in them. I'll play solid poker for half an hour, run up my stack a little bit, then lose more than I won in the PLO pots because I'm not very good at it. I don't know what are good starting hands, bad starting hands. I overplay my hands because I play them like it's Hold'em, which, you know, with the amount of cards in factor, it's usually no good. Anyhow, we bet $90 into this pot with just 2 pair, not even trips or anything, and it somehow got through. So we got super lucky and we scooped a $90 profit on this one. All right, so we are on the big blind with a $6 straddle. The action folded around to some of the middle position players. They limped in when the small blind Miss Margot raises to 20. We go ahead and smooth call here, trying to disguise the strength of our hand, and we pick up 2 customers across the table with pocket aces. And then I hear this from my right.
Forward. I forgot what I had.
I'm sure you did.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to get paid here. This woman never table talks, and I mean never. The only time she does, she has queens or better. We just need to pray for a good run out, and we get king jack on the board. This is going to be bad. I'm really hoping she has ace king here, but she never table talks with ace king. Worst case scenario, she has jacks, which also hit trips. Most likely kings. I actually put her on kings pre-flop because I didn't think she had aces, and even with queens is the bottom of her range for her to be talking with that much confidence. Normally she stays pretty quiet and is sweating when the board comes out with pocket queens. So I'm pretty sure we're beat here. She doesn't have that much behind, so I don't think there's any way to avoid an all-in situation here. She's got about 100 and some change, so she leads out here for 20. I just go ahead and re-raise it to about 80 to get the other 2 players out of the hand, just in case they have, you know, any draws, either spade draws or a Broadway draw. And that's exactly what happens. Both of the other players get out of the way. Marco goes all in. I snap call it because it's only 20 bucks more, and she shows me kings.
That sucks. You. 12?
Please, no aces, please.
12.
Well, we definitely lost the minimum in this hand. I don't think it would have played any differently, even if we raised it pre-flop. The run out was going to be the run out regardless. With the amount that she had behind, there's no way we don't call any bet size on the flop with our hand and that board. Sucks to suck, but it's okay. At least it went to somebody we know as opposed to a random on the table, and hopefully she uses that to run it up even further. All right, guys, so our second stack has dwindled a little bit. We're down to 128 when we decide to do an $8 straddle on the button here, and then we look down at the wonderful 3-5 off. Yikes. Hopefully nobody raises this and we don't just lose $8 here. I usually don't straddle, and this is actually the reason why. But if I do straddle, I prefer games where you can button straddle because at least you can play position and you have a lot more information. I try not to straddle under the gun ever because I feel like it just loses me way too much money. Anyhow, we're off to a flop 4 ways, and we actually get a pretty good flop for our hand. We flop an open ender on a rainbow board, so we don't really have to worry about any other draws taking hold here. I go ahead and fire out for 20 after the action checks to me. Our buddy Nick over in the big blind puts in the call, and then everybody else gets out of the way. The turn comes an ace of spades, and it looks like Nick quickly checks this over. At this point, I'm putting Nick on the queen, or he may have floated with an over, and I decide to bet 40, and he actually beats me into the pot here. Bit odd. This definitely looks pretty strong, and then he checks it a 3rd time. I play with Nick a good amount, and he's a very solid player. I also know that he knows that I know how to play position, and to, you know, take advantage of players showing weakness. So when he checks over to me, I don't expect him to be checking with the intention of folding. I fully expect him to be checking with the intention of letting me continue barreling. We're obviously beat with a 6 high here, but I'm sure Nick puts us on some sort of pair at least. I don't want him to call with, you know, a queen thinking he has this out kicked. If he puts us on the queen, he's definitely calling if he has the ace. So I want to sit here and kind of tank a little bit and talk as if I was slightly concerned with what he has and then just jam on him anyway. This is something I would do if I had a monster hand. I usually sit there and I'm very patient about my shoves whenever I do have nutted hands. So I'm just going to go ahead and act like I have either 2 pair or a set here, and just in my mind I am telling myself that I have the freaking winner and trying to exude confidence, like I don't care whether or not Nick puts his chips in the middle, and praying that it goes through.
What do you have on the flop? You straddle. Alright, figure.
Do I beat you?
Yeah.
Fuck you, dude.
Yeah.
3-5.
Oh,
You're joking.
And we miraculously get one through. Feel a little bad there having to bluff our boy Yama, but we're stuck on the session, and this puts us a little bit over even on our second bullet. We had a great hand on the flop, and I don't think I was gonna go anywhere on it. Unfortunately, I was not gonna win at showdown, so my only option there was to bluff at the pot, and it got through. So shout out to our boy Yama, took it like a champ. I'm sure all the boys are gonna love watching this one. The reaction was the best, honestly. Made the hand worth it. All right, moving on to the next one. All right, we wake up on the big blind with pocket aces again. Second time this session that we get the rockets. Looks like everybody's limping into this pot, and this is an absolutely fantastic spot to be in. We're definitely bumping this up, and to make it even better, Margot makes it 20 behind us. Why do we always both have big hands simultaneously? This always happens. I'm not going to slow play this time. I elect to raise to 40. Everybody gets out of the way, and Margot calls again. This one's an interesting clip, so I'm just going to run the audio.
Why do we both always have big hands against each other?
I don't know. This never ends well.
No.
Okay.
You guys should agree right now to check the turn.
No.
You want to shove blind?
Flop. It ended pretty well for you last
No,
time.
I'm good.
You don't want to shove blind?
No, I don't
Okay.
want to shove one.
You could play
Okay.
the flop.
So I'll shove in the light then.
Okay, buddy. See how that works out.
Look, I'm not gonna look. I'm not gonna look. You ready? Did you check yet?
I checked.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, I fall.
Fuck, you have a 10, don't you?
I have 2 10s actually.
Fucking shit, every time I have aces.
Watch this.
Every time I have aces. Oh god, that's so sick. I'm dead. And we
Wait, is that big jackpot?
I think you could be.
Oh shit.
We have quad tens and aces full of tens. Is that a jackpot here? For Hold'em? Ace full of jacks.
You're joking. You're joking.
So not only do we get absolutely demolished in this hand, we don't even qualify for the bad beat either. So 0 money coming back our way. Absolute feel bad situation. This piece over here has cracked my aces twice today. Oh, total turd. She's definitely sleeping on the couch. What a jerk. No, I'm totally kidding. But it is what it is. At this point, I think I'm getting a little tilted. We end up rebuying for a 3rd bullet. End up donking that off. We get up from the table for a while, go eat, you know, walk off the tilt, talk to the homies and hang out, and then we end up coming back a little bit later. All right, new seat, new me. We got a fresh stack of chips here. We're in for about 200 when we pick up ace king offsuit on the hijack. A couple people tried to limp into this pot, and we're not gonna let them. We're gonna raise it up to 21. Probably could have gone a little bit bigger here, but I didn't want to start committing too much of my stack into the pot. I don't want to miss the flop and, you know, lose 30 or 40 bucks since we're already stuck 6 something on the day. Looks like we end up playing this pot 4 ways, so definitely regret not raising a little bit more there, but it's okay. We'll see what the flop brings. And the dealer's a real one. He gives us top with a rainbow board and absolutely no draws out there. I decide to fire out for 45. There's enough in this pot that I'm okay just taking it as is, and that's exactly what happens. So we scoop a small one here. Moving on to the next one, we pick up king 10 offsuit on the big blind. Action limps around. The small blind raises to 21, and we go ahead and put in the call. MP2 takes a quick peek at his cards from across the table there and decides they're good enough and comes along as well. So we're going 3 ways to this flop, which brings us ace, king, deuce. We hit the board, but of course that ace has got to be out there to just ruin our day. I don't really have much of an option here besides checking it over, and this check actually gets through. The turn comes a jack of diamonds. Now, there's a lot of cards that we could have here that would be good and bad for this ace. We could have king jack, we could have queen 10. I don't take it that anybody is super strong since the check got through on the flop. So I'm going to go ahead and just raise the small blinds bet here. He bet 20. I'm going to bump it up to about 50. I think this is some good board texture that we can represent in something here. Looks like middle position got out of the way and the small blind looks pissed. I can visibly see the frustration. He's huffing and puffing, and I don't think he likes this raise. He's putting us on a much better hand that we have, and we get it through. After our break, we had been playing super tight, and our table image definitely improved. We hadn't been seeing very many flops, and we were always betting any face cards that hit the board. So I just cashed in on that image here to win a small little pot and help us, get through the night. All right, we've done a pretty good job at maintaining our stack size right around 200, which is what we bought in for. Looks like everybody's limping into this pot, and I look down at 7-9 suited. When I'm playing these cards in late position, I typically like to open raise if it gets limped over to me, but we had been running so bad tonight that I was kind of playing a little scared. I'm gonna be honest. I was already in for 600 and something. With this additional 200, I'm in for 8. So I was just trying to get to cheap flops and then play them out when our hands actually hit and then fold if I miss. So we actually hit this board extremely well. We flop bottom pair, but we have an open-ended straight flush draw. So any 6 or jack will give us a straight, any diamond will give us the flush. And even better, we have players putting money into the pot. So I'm definitely going to raise here, but I'm strapped to figure out how much. We technically just have a pair of 7s right now and a lot of outs to improve. So I elect to bet about the pot. I'm going to make it 65 here. The goal with this bet size is to either one of two things: take down the pot or only play with people that already have made hands. That way, if we do hit our flush or our straight, they'll most likely have to pay us off. And I'm hoping that by betting this size, it looks like we might have something like 2 pair, maybe a set, and they don't put me on a draw. So when the draw gets there, we hopefully get paid off. Under the gun, player asks the dealer how much more and then quickly grabs the chips that he needs and throws it in the middle. He looks pretty comfortable with this bet amount, so I'm kind of concerned with what his holdings are. And then the middle position 2 player also quickly grabs 50 and tosses them in there. The ace of clubs peels on the turn. The under the gun player quickly checks, and then almost instantly the middle position 2 player just shoves 100 in there. I asked the dealer for a quick count just to make sure, but I'm actually just doing this so I can count how much is in the pot and see if I'm getting the right price. And I very quickly figure out that I am. I only have 72 behind. Could have easily just put it all in there, but there's no reason to throw an additional 72 in there if all we have is a pair of 7s. So we're going to see if the river completes our hand here. Now, the fact that the under the gun player called the $100 bet almost instantly is pretty concerning. I'm kind of worried that he might be drawing to a higher flush than I am. He hasn't seemed to be concerned with any of the bet sizing thus far, but he keeps checking. I figured if he had a made hand with this board, he would definitely be leading out as opposed to check calling. So I'm really hoping that we drill the straight on the river as opposed to the flush. But the dealer had other plans. When he throws out the river, he gives us the 6 of diamonds, completing our straight flush. We get the absolute nuts. Both players are scared. They don't want none, but they're going to get all of it. We're going all in, ladies and gentlemen, and we get 2 snap calls.
I have a straight flush.
Ooh, we finally got one back tonight. Finally got one back tonight.
I was super excited to finally be scooping up a big one. It looks like we needed that river card because our opponent to the right showed 6-9 for the flop straight, so we definitely needed to hit that diamond. And then the under the gun player had 7-9, so he had a similar hand, was chasing the open ender, but we had way more equity in the hand with the diamond draw as well. We didn't need the straight flush to win this one because nobody was on the nut flush, but it still feels good to be scooping up the absolute maximum we could have gotten out of this hand. So we're sitting at around $700 in our stack, and we decide to limp in here with the small pocket pair in late position, and the button decides to raise it up to 15. The small and big get out of the way. Under the gun +1 puts in the call. We put in the call ourselves, and we are off to the flop 3 ways. So some quick history here. The player on the button is a pretty solid player. He was the pre-flop aggressor, so I expect him to c-bet on the flop 9 times out of 10. So I've already decided before this flop comes out that I'm going to float on him if he bets here and see what he does on the turn. And almost instantly he fires for 15 again. I put in the call, and then we are off to the turn, which brings us a 6 of spades. Now I'm thinking that I could potentially use this as a good bluff card. Maybe I was on a spade draw on the flop, though I quickly called the 15, and now I'm going to lead out here for a relatively small size to try and get some value. Now when I look over to my left, I notice the villain is taking a good amount of time to look at his hand and look back at the board. I'm putting him on at least a pair right now with a ace of spades. I'm not sure why. I've played with him a couple times. I kind of know when he's on a draw, and I know when he's, just trying to Hollywood it. And I sincerely think that he has something already, but has a monster draw. It seems like he's debating potentially raising me here or just smooth calling. I'm not 100% sure. Either way, if the turn comes off another spade, we might be in trouble. But if it comes a blank, I'm going to fire again on the river and hope that it goes through. And of course, the one suit we're trying to fade peels off on the river, putting 4 to the flush out there. And it takes me a moment to notice, but it's actually the 5 of spades. So we river a boat. We were totally just going to bluff, actually end up getting there with the runner full house. So now I'm trying to see how much we can extract here out of an ace high flush on this board texture. I go for about $70 here, and our opponent enters the tank. He's leaning back in his chair. He's looking very disgruntled. He looks like he doesn't like this situation at all. Maybe he doesn't actually have the ace of spades here. Alternatively, he could just be Hollywooding right before putting in a fat raise. If he does decide to go for the raise, I'm probably just going to shove. I don't think I'm ever supposed to show up with a full house here in this situation. So I'm really hoping that he raises us here and we can just get it all in on the river. After about another 45 seconds, our opponent reaches for his green chips and throws 225 into the middle. Let's freaking go. I know I had mentioned before the flop that I was going to just jam if he raised us, but for some reason when he bet 225, I saw it as a massive overbet. I looked at the pot and I looked how much he bet, and I was like, wait a minute, that's a lot. Does this guy have a pocket pair? Given the actions, sixes don't make sense. Kings don't make sense. The only thing that could play this way would be pocket eights trying to maximize value. I thought I had a read, and now I'm questioning whether or not my read was correct. I'm getting really trigger shy and don't want to put all my chips in and be wrong. So after confirming what the count is, I'd elect to just throw in the call instead. Our opponent reaches for his cards and flips over ace of spades, 6 of clubs. So he did in fact have the nut flush. We were absolutely crushing him, and now looking back at it, I realized that the bet he threw on the river was slightly above a pot-sized bet. I definitely think I should have shoved there, missed out on a ton of value, but either way, we are now up on the session.
And now we get to whip out the bankroll tracker. All right, so we're gonna lean over a little bit over here, then whip it out, and boom, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Don't look at the top 2. I'm gonna blur those out. The only 2 relevant sessions are the 2 at the bottom, so bit hard to see. So we'll open it up on the first of the 2 because it's broken down into 2 sessions. Remember, we got felted and had to get up because we were steaming. So the first section we bought in 3 times total. We bought in for a total of 6. We lost 6. We played for looks like a little over 2 hours, almost 3, from 506 to 750. I tracked a total of $10 in tips that we threw in here. Looking at the second session, we bought in for 280 and cashed out 965. So our total profit was 685, netting us a whopping $85 profit. We did spend $21 in tips, but I don't add that to my bankroll because the money's gone. We just count it as an expense. So overall, $85 positive. We can't complain about that now, can we? Positive EV poker. That's what we're playing here, guys. A win is a win, no matter how small. That's why we have the EV card protector, because we're going for the positive EV sessions. Big brain. Anyhow, that's it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. There will be many, many more to come. We're going to post on a weekly schedule, hoping to give you guys a video every single Thursday and then a bunch of short form content along the way. Thank you for those of you that made it this far. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and go hype up those comments. See you on the next one. Peace.